Okay, it is Monday, September 19th at 7:05 p.m. We'll call to order this meeting of the Brattleboro Development Review Board. The first item of business is to review and approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
I had one change. I think I talked to you about it, Brian. At the very end, where we talked about our amendment to the rules of procedure. I think it should be 3 consecutive meetings, but we wanted to talk about that. So do we leave the minutes this way and then discuss it at the end when we vote on it, or do we amend the minutes? I didn't know.
Well, does anybody remember the answer to her question? Because I don't. I don't mean to be offensive. I really don't.
No, I think we talked about consecutive, but I'm not going to swear to it.
Consecutive makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, heaven knows you can miss 3 non-consecutive meetings if you're sick or you've got a relative that needs caring for or something like that. I don't think we need to be booting people for 3 non-consecutive meetings.
No.
It's not like we have a waiting list of people who are trying to get on the DRB. I wish we did, but. So, why don't you move to amend it to add the language consecutive?
I make a motion that the minutes be amended so that under administrative matters and new business, the rules of procedure be amended to say 3 consecutive meetings.
Okay.
So moved.
Well, she moved. We need a second.
Second.
Oh, second.
I'll give him the second. He was fast. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I kind of would like to, I understand the reason for that, but there's also sometimes, whether it's consecutive or not, that there might be a pending medical reason or something that they couldn't come.
So-
They would say we're here for 2 meetings and then the third one, you can't make it.
After we do Ms. George's application, we're going to discuss whether this has merit or not.
Okay, all right.
She's only making sure that the record is clear from our
Okay,
last
all
meeting. But I don't think her motion is going to end the discussion. So that being said, any further discussion of this amendment? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. What do we have? 6-0. So I usually read these opening remarks to a crowd. You are our only crowd, so I will read them directly to you. Have you ever been to a DRB meeting before?
Many.
Okay.
Lately, though, because I don't remember any of you.
If you'd rather me save you the 5 minutes, you can just go right to your application, or I can give you the usual spiel. I'll give you the choice.
You don't have to give me the spiel.
You don't want the spiel?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Unless you need the practice.
Well, let me remind you this.
Okay.
I'm going to put you under oath. The only evidence that if you wanted to appeal us could be considered by an appeals court is what we say in here. So if you don't say it in this hearing, you can't argue it again at the next level.
Oh, I don't remember.
And to succeed, you need 4 votes. We ordinarily would have 7 people here tonight, but we only have 6, unfortunately. And if you would like to try to hold out for 7, we generally entertain a motion to continue or 2. Those are sort of the 2 big things. The other thing I would note is that the town of Brattleboro filed a memo here, and it's important that you know that the town of, even though we're a board that is under the authority of the town of Brattleboro, we treat them as if they're a party or a witness. They don't have any special status before this board. So just because they issue a memo saying we think this is what the law should bind the applicant to do does not mean we're automatically going to say, okay, the town of Brattleboro said that this is the deal, so this is what we're going to say. We're a judicial authority, and if we disagree with them on the law, we say no to them. If we disagree with you, we say no to you. If we disagree with everybody, sometimes we come up with our own set of conditions which we feel helps an application conform to whatever law, to whatever zoning ordinance controls.
So is Brian the one who's representing the town of Brattleboro?
No,
Who's representing the town of Brattleboro?
Nobody here is representing the town, but the planning department filed a memorandum. Sue Fillion is one of the
Yep.
planners there. And that's the town's contribution to this hearing tonight, is this written document. Mr. Bannon is, in addition to being the zoning administrator, he's also our clerk. He doesn't have a vote on the board tonight, but sometimes I look to him for procedural questions because he knows the ordinances probably better than anybody. But he technically is without authority here. We're the ones who come up with the conditions and say either application approved or application not approved. One more thing. You're going to get a written decision at some point. You have 45 days to appeal, or I'm sorry, we have to issue the written decision within 45 days of the close of this hearing. And if you want to appeal, the written decision controls your timeline for appeal. So let me swear you in first, because I assume you're going to talk about your application, right? Can you raise your right hand? Do you hereby swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the cause under consideration will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Bannon, has the meeting been properly warned?
Yes, it is.
Does anybody have any conflicts of interest, or have they had any ex parte communications with our applicant? Okay, so Ms. George, what we generally do is we'll have you sit at this table. And we all have a copy of your application and the plans by your, was it an architect?
Engineer.
Engineer. We have a copy of the 3 plans that show the old parking lot and the additions, changes, however you want to think about it. And the way we generally do this is we just ask you to tell us a little bit about your project, and we'll ask you some questions. So tell us a little bit about your project.
The description of what I'm asking is fine. There's a couple sentences in there about what we're trying to do. A few things that weren't mentioned. I hope this project, this piece of land we're talking about, is eventually going to go into the planned unit development for the ST Organ complex. I only bought it 2 years ago, and I haven't gotten around to that yet, so just be aware of that. This particular lot is serving and has served for 10 or 20 years the needs of 130 Birge, which is that big boxy looking building where early education services is. So before I owned the land, I was renting parking spaces for early education services. So this is an existing parking space place. I'm not creating a new parking area, so that will come in later with some of the things that are mentioned later. Really all we're doing is putting a retaining wall a little bit out from the corner, the back corner. If you've driven by there, way back in the back, there's a whole bunch of Japanese knotweed and stuff like that. So we're going to put a wall, and behind the wall, we're going to fill in this contaminated soil. And the reason for that is to save money, because if you've ever heard how much it costs to truck contaminated soil to other states to be treated, the first estimate for this whole job was $167,000 to send all that dirt away. And we got it down, but it's still saving more than $50,000 to do this. So that's why I'm doing it. It's not that I love retaining walls or anything like that, but it's a place to put that stuff, cover it up with nice dirt, and grow things on it. So that's sort of the general things that I have to say, and I guess I would not be here if it weren't for the fact that that is a steep slope where it's going. As it turns out, we're not going to have to we might remove one little old tree that's pretty far down, but I don't think we're going to be taking out any trees besides one. We probably will kill off some Japanese knotweed, but I don't think anybody cares about that. So pretty much, it's not a big change. And I think, from what Brian told me, it's the steep slope behind it that triggers this review. And I believe, although the project takes in 4 lots that are being paved, there's not any changes to those other lots. It's just this one lot that's triggering your involvement, I believe. Is that the case?
I thought the only lot that needed site plan approval was
Yeah.
132.
Yeah, because everything else, it's impervious right now, it's gonna be impervious, nothing's changing about the layout of anything, so pretty much the only thing that's changing is that there's gonna be some dirt piled up back there at the foot of that bank. I'm happy to go through, I have the same documents you do.
That's
Do
what I
yours
was
have
getting.
yellow marks? Do you have yellow
Are you
marks with
talking
all the
about the
questions?
planning department's memo or the draft
I have that, and
decision?
I have the other one.
Let's go through the memo first,
Okay,
if you don't mind.
the memo is the Sue one or the Brian one?
The Sue one.
Okay.
Does everybody have that?
Let's see,
So we're gonna start with access and circulation there?
yeah. It's a pre-existing condition, as she said. So I don't know that anything has to be said about that. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I actually didn't understand, and I thought, Brian, you might be able to explain this to me, what the spacing distance, I don't understand what's wrong there.
It's very close to the intersection of Estee and Birge Street, that corner.
Oh,
And so, I mean, it's not ideal to have people coming out and they're only 20 or 30 feet from an intersection, but
Okay.
there's good visibility, and it's been like that for a long, long time.
yeah, okay.
I mean, I would love to think of a way to get it changed, but that's the way it is.
So that's people coming out here?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, let's,
Yeah, that was why that was there.
Between the
think.
two purple things.
let's go down to parking space demarcation.
Parkings. Is this the,
This is where they say you've got to put lines on the parking lot.
yes, there certainly will be lines on it. The plans that you have are the ones we submitted to the state, and the state doesn't care about the lines.
Okay.
But there will be lines.
Okay.
The landscaping, again, I wanted to conform to the rules of the PUD, because eventually it'll be in the PUD.
Okay, so
It
you're
is a historic place.
Now, you see this note about, that says the applicant should speak to the purple areas on the plans.
Right. If you look at the detail, do you have the sheet that has the details?
I've got a sheet that shows what the tree planting is gonna look like and the road.
Yeah, if you look at that sheet with the details, there's a place where it shows how the soil gets treated.
On the top
And it has,
left.
a top layer is, I think it says mulch and vegetation or something like, grass, I don't know. It's gonna be grass.
It is gonna be grass?
Yes, mostly. There may be a few of those purple places where there's a little bit of gravel, but all that you're looking at, that big purple area to the right of the map,
Well, there's a purple area, kind of a stripe running down between the two parking areas. Is that gravel?
I think that's going to be, that's a change in elevation there, so I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Are you guys talking about the same stripe?
I don't know.
To the existing gravel parking?
Well, I thought Brian was talking about the stripe between the square building and the two buildings behind it.
No, I thought he was talking about
This little
between the existing
this little
parking
sliver right
lot
here.
and the,
And the gravel.
Yeah, it's this
parking
little
lot.
sliver between the existing parking lot
Oh.
and the
Right
existing
here, yeah.
gravel
I see.
parking. Yeah.
I see. Okay, sorry, can you answer again now that I'm following?
That's where the Jersey barriers are now, correct?
yes, the Jersey barriers are there.
Yep.
They may not go away, I'm not sure.
They're disgusting.
So there will be grass, and there might be a few areas where there's gravel, just because the grass would get run over.
The purple area to the right there, along the right front,
Uh-huh,
That's not grass now, is that
It
correct?
is, actually, it's kind of scruffy looking though,
It's not
and
just,
people are parking into it.
right. But all that will be grass.
How long Estes
All
Street?
that follows Esty Street.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any way we could stick some street trees on there?
Pardon?
Any possibility
There are
we could
already
put some
trees out
street
there.
trees?
There
on
are street trees
Yeah, they're
there,
all along the edge.
Yeah.
all along there.
On Birch Street?
No, on Estes
Estes
Street.
Street.
I'm talking about Birch Street.
I don't think it's appropriate
Why not?
because it was an industrial place. And that's what the PUD says, is that it should continue to look like an industrial place.
Mr. Chair, the number of street trees that are on SD Street exceed what would be required for the total frontage of the parcel.
Really?
So I believe the standard has been met for street trees.
Okay.
If the spacing is entirely.
Are you going to be doing any landscaping around the parking lot?
No. I regard grass as landscaping.
Okay.
If you remove those Jersey barriers, can you put grass in there? Or something?
There may be
that
quite
you
a difference in elevation there, because to save money, we're trying not to take dirt away from that gravel parking area, because that would add more cost, so we're gonna build on top of it. So where the Jersey barriers are, there's gonna be quite a difference in elevation, so something has to be there, or the people would, drive off.
Drive off
Yeah.
the edge. Bushes?
Listen, this board gave me permission to have Jersey barriers long ago. Bushes might work. I mean, I care about the place, and I think about those things, but it's not something that is right now gonna happen. So, where are we here?
So the wall is going to be 4 feet high,
Yes.
and then you're going to pick up dirt and fill in behind that and
Where the
slope it up?
dirt is coming from is from the other place. Behind the building with the clock, behind the building that has the big sign, that's where, you can see it on your plans there. Because of the level of the ground there, we couldn't pave on top of it because there's basements, there's crawl spaces under the buildings. So we have to remove soil from there to be able to pave. And that's the soil that's going behind the retaining wall. It says further down here, this business about the steep slope. I mean, in a way, we're not disturbing the steep slope. We're just putting more dirt in front of it. And it says here also, a lot of the existing wooded vegetation will be cleared. No, it's not a lot. It's very little, really, because this is going to be new space coming out. I mentioned about the Japanese knotweed. Some of that'll go, but... And it says this regrading requires the slope to be, I guess it means this project requires the slope to be regraded. It's not so much the slope, it's this addition to the foot of the slope. So we're not changing what's already there, we're just gonna add some more stuff in front of it.
So you're not changing what's behind the wall, just what's in front of it?
Well, we're adding dirt behind the wall, yeah.
Steep slope regulations do apply to almost any changes.
Is that right? Yeah.
Just the new revegetation.
Uh-huh.
Dirt from back here, you gotta fill in all that.
Is there a place to store bicycles?
There is in one of the other lots.
No charging stations for electric vehicles, I assume?
I looked at the regulations about the charging stations, and apparently that's for newly created parking lots. So this is an existing parking lot, and
No, it's actually for parking lots with 20 or more spaces that need site plan approval.
They need site plan approval? Because what I read in the regulations, it said anyone who creates 20 or more spaces needs to do this, but I'm not creating them, they're already there.
Right, and you have to bring existing parking lots into conformance to the greatest extent possible when you get site plan approval. But might not be that parking lot might not be the best place to fit
No.
that.
Do we have any wiggle room on that if we want to?
It's a PUD, so there are other parcels in the complex, and I think Barbara should have the flexibility to figure out who our tenants are and
Okay.
which ones will actually use the chargers and where the electric supply is, and then come up with the most practical solution.
Okay.
You folks realize what those cost?
How much?
Well, from 2,000 to 5,000 apiece, plus then you have to pay the electricity and you have to pay the maintenance. And I have to say, if any of my tenants want to have an electric charging station, that's fine. But, you know, that's a continuing cost that I would have to raise everybody's rents for and all that kind of stuff. So it's an economic hardship to do a thing like that for this kind of tenant who is there because they're nonprofit, or, you know, they're there because it's economically feasible for them. So, but I would love it. In fact, I'll tell them, Building Green is one of my tenants. I'll say, if you guys want to have a charging station, great. And one of them does have an electric vehicle, but as long as they put it on their electric meter and they pay the
That would be totally appropriate.
Yeah. Sure, I'll tell them.
There are class 1 chargers that are actually more like 500.
Well, those are the home ones. From what I saw online, it said those were for home use. They were about 500.
So
Right.
they're not appropriate for people who are coming and going on business, but they
Yeah.
are appropriate for tenants
Yeah.
or residents.
Yeah.
They're not appropriate for workers who own shows.
That are gonna be parked there for considerable time or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll mention it to them. Early Education Services might want to put one in too.
What does the lighting there look like right now?
On that lot, there is no lighting.
Okay.
On the lot next to it, there's lighting on the building.
But that's not one of the lots you're proposing a change to, right?
There's not, excuse me?
The one that has lighting is not one of the ones you're proposing a change to? Is there any lighting in the area that's going to be changed?
No.
Okay.
In the area, the corner up there by Oregon Street, there's a residence right across the road there, and there's another one up the road. Is this going to change their view at all by filling it in? And
Actually might do the opposite if we get rid of some of that Japanese knotweed. They can't see through that. It's very tall.
but they'd probably prefer not to see through it.
Well,
So I was wondering.
we're not touching the top of the bank at all.
Okay, I'm thinking in terms of perhaps a tree or two up in there.
There is a tree up there. It's part of that row of trees. Well, not up
After
at the
you
very
turn the
corner.
corner.
Yeah.
Is what I'm thinking of,
It wouldn't. It's too steep for a tree there.
even after you fill it.
We're not filling up to the top. Just because it's purple doesn't mean we're doing anything there.
Oh, I see, okay.
It just means that that's all going to be grass. But we're just filling 4 feet and like that.
Okay.
So over on the left side of the diagram, there's something here that says concrete retaining wall and slab to be removed. Is that part of this project?
Yes.
Just a minute, I didn't answer you right before.
Right over here.
Right here, yeah,
Yeah, I
okay.
just noticed.
There's old concrete there from Estes day. And part of the paving is they're going to have to tear out the old driveway and the that concrete slab, which actually was part of the Renault's property years ago. And the retaining wall is what's left of a foundation from the buildings that were there. It's not it's not retaining anything. It's just a concrete row that used to be the foundation.
So that whole area back there is parking,
Yes,
and it's gonna be paved
yes.
and striped. And then you're going to, on the other side, where it says existing parking lot to remain, is that gonna be repaved and restriped?
That's already paved.
That's already, is it gonna be restriped?
It has
Or
stripes.
It has stripes,
Yeah,
okay.
they're sort of
so-
faded, but they're there.
That's the one in front of Esty, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Esty
Well,
Dental.
the dental
And the
center,
early ed.
early education.
Right. So you're not doing anything with that
No.
portion?
No.
No skim coat or no nothing, just it's staying the way it is?
Oh, it has it. It has all those things.
So it's in good shape and you're not touching it?
Pardon?
It's in good shape now and you're not touching
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Mhm.
Are you putting any crosswalks or are they already there?
Pardon?
Crosswalks in the
I
areas where
think
people walk.
There was there's not any in this plan. There was originally, if you look in front of the 4-story building,
Mm-hmm.
you can see that just below to the right, there was a place where originally people thought there was going to be a crosswalk, because there's a little parking lot across the street there. No one would want to cross the street at this place that we're talking about
I didn't
here.
mean for Birge Street, I meant for the driveway entrance.
Oh, you mean stripe it?
Yeah,
Oh, sure.
okay.
Could do that.
I don't think you could stripe Birch Street if you wanted to.
It's kind of a raceway.
Probably get in trouble.
Does that parking across the street belong to you too?
Yes.
That's next to Wyndham Coach and Carriage?
Well, they have about 6 spaces, and then I have
And the rest is yours?
Yeah,
And you're not doing anything with that?
I hope not.
Okay.
This is all with the state. I mean, they've in general approved the corrective action plan,
Mhm.
but they can still come back and say, hey, you've got to do this or something.
Further questions? I'll note for the record that there are no members of the public here, which is why I'm not asking for public comment. Brian, notice was sent to abutters.
Yes, it was.
Oh, I did have one question. Is there turnaround for emergency vehicles on both of these entrances and
Yes,
parking lots?
yes, there's a driveway all around the whole back of the complex.
Yeah, you can just drive right through all the way down.
Yeah, that's right, there is, I could.
I only have one question. The concrete retaining wall over to the right to be removed, it looks like the shadow looks quite large. Is there going to be something that's going to replace once those slabs are pulled up?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
The
your question.
concrete retaining wall over to the right is a really large amount of slabs or whatever is going to be pulled up. Is there anything that's going to replace those once they're pulled up? Or is there going to be something put in there?
This is the retaining wall right here.
What's
That's
this?
the concrete driveway that was built by ST.
Oh, well, it says retaining wall, that's why I
Well,
asked.
the line was over here.
All right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, once those slabs are pulled up, is there something going to be, replace them?
No,
or-
that'll be a flat striped parking area.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So you're gonna pave that?
Yes.
Yep.
Any other questions? So,
Could I comment on the draft decision points?
oh, sure.
That's the last page of Brian's thing.
You're talking about the
this is,
Are you talking about the page?
at the end of the draft of the DRB decision
Yeah,
is the
Yeah,
things that you're gonna tell me I have to do.
well, these are the draft, but.
Right, well,
Yeah, page
I'd like to
6, right?
comment on them because you said I can't appeal if I don't comment on them.
Go ahead.
All right. Number 4, I mean, you could delete it because it's not really applicable because there's
Right.
no lighting. Number 7, on this particular lot, it doesn't make sense to have a bike rack. There is a bike rack elsewhere in the complex. Number 8, I mean, I have Knox boxes on a lot of my buildings. The building is not really what we're talking about here, so that's sort of irrelevant about the Knox box, but, you know, I don't object to that, but it's not part of this. Since there's no development going on in the building, it doesn't really apply. I've told you what I think about the electric charging station, that I think it would be a hardship for you to require me to do that. I'm happy to inform my tenants about this and encourage them to do this kind of thing. But I don't think you should make it a requirement of me. Let's see, the ones, I guess those are the ones that I would object to.
There was one, I was curious about, number 18, which is on page 7. A suggestion of the planting of perennials in the front yard.
Ooh, where's that?
Number 18, it's on page 7.
Proposal-
Some additional front yard could be, no front yard planting. Thank you for mentioning that.
Well, I assumed you objected to it because of what you said before, but I just.
Right,
wanted
it's
to-
just not, it's not appropriate at all.
Okay. Parking lot striping, you're fine with. Striping
Yep.
crosswalks, you're fine with. Keeping the landscaping consistent with the rest of the PUD,
Yep.
you're fine with.
I should tell you, I have met with Public Works to talk over this whole thing, especially about the snow storage and the fact that where the purple, or all this grass is gonna be over here, they're happy that we're changing the drainage so that not so much is gonna go down into the street. So that's gonna be good. I met with them twice, and they like that. Because it is mentioned in here a couple times about the drainage. So there will be, because of the changing the slope and making a low space where that grass is, it's gonna improve the runoff.
Well, that and you're reducing the amount of parking there too. I mean, theoretically.
People are already parking there. We're gonna pull them back a little bit, but
And
there's
some
plenty of
school
space
buses
there.
parked there, and
Pardon?
there's some school buses and stuff.
Yeah,
that
yeah, they
park there,
do.
and-
But
yeah,
there's a lot of room.
Yeah,
Yep.
and so you're really reducing that.
No, because there's still only gonna be, if you start at the front, it's gonna be one line up each side. The way it is now, the lines are like this,
Right.
but if you pull them back and have more grass, there's still the same amount of parking spaces.
Right, but you're,
Yeah.
right, yeah, you're just shrinking it in a little bit.
Brian, can you remind me exactly how the electric vehicle requirement works? The charging station? When you have I mean, specifically in this situation where you have a part PUD, part non-PUD situation.
Well, it would apply to the PUD unless there were some specific standard, which there wouldn't be on any of the existing PUDs. But again, it allows for considerable flexibility because it doesn't specify that it has to be some number of class 2 or some number of class 1. It's really about the landowner figuring out what works with their program and what would be useful for their properties.
Okay.
I think, you know, there isn't electricity to this particular parking lot, so I think it's more economical to have it located where there is actual electric service.
Okay. So the least restrictive condition would be that there be the charging station somewhere on the PUD in lieu of being in this portion.
Yeah.
I'm sensitive to the cost of it, but we can't just disregard the law, and I don't think there's any wiggle room to go below that. Those were all the conditions I had necessary.
So would you go around town and look at all the parking lots that have 20 spaces and tell them they have to put in?
If they come to us for site plan approval, we have to,
Huh.
whether we think it's a good idea or not.
And actually, a lot of the new parking lots will be having
Yeah, it's an issue that's come up frequently in applications recently. It's not just yours.
Okay.
And Brian, my suggestion would be on the Knox box, just say if the fire department deems it necessary.
They did comment on this, or they had no comments on this application,
Okay.
so
Who was that?
the fire department.
Oh, yeah.
We copy them on every one, and once in a while they'll return them on. That just, it avoids her having to do it. It seems, it makes sense to me that this doesn't need a Knox box. So, the way I have this is that we remove the lighting condition, the bike rack condition, change the Knox box condition so that it is only required if deemed necessary by the fire department. We're not going to require the front yard plantings, but we are going to require a parking lot striping plan and striped crosswalks across the driveway. And the electric vehicle stations, the charging stations at some point, at some place in the PUD, it doesn't need to be here. And that the landscaping be consistent in the non-PUD parcels with whatever's in the PUD. And that there be an erosion control plan which protects municipal services and any abutting parcels. Anything I'm missing? Ms. George, does that sound all right?
Does to me, yep.
Okay. I'll have a motion then.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, it passes 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice night. Okay, we're just going to do a little administrative stuff here. Tonight's a pretty good night for it. As far as they go. As far as they go, tonight's a good night for it.
I would like to get home.
So the administrative matter is, we're going to consider whether to ask the board to remove Mr. Bushey so that we have a new slot to fill. And I think this is kind of symbolic because we have alternate slots that are not filled anyway. And if people on here do not want to have Mr. Bushey removed, I don't think we have to do it in order for this board to function.
That word remove though.
Whatever, I mean, we can
I know,
use-
no, I'm just saying.
we can pick the most politically correct
No.
term you
No.
guys can think of between all of us, but,
Do we know what the official status of Joe is? Is he-
MIA?
He
I mean-
hasn't communicated with me or, to the best of my knowledge, anybody on the board about his status on the board for many months now.
my understanding is he's living on the West Coast at the moment. And I have no problem leaving him. I mean, I don't think we need to do this. But that said, if we wanted to try to fill the board up, him having his slot taken is a slot that can't be filled by someone who wants to do it.
When does his term expire?
I believe it's next July.
Is this the last year of his term?
I think it might be.
Knowing Joe, I think if he would agree, I mean, he would, if we need to have another seat, and, I don't think he'd be upset about it. That's
I
what
feel
I'm
that
trying
we
to
could
say.
just kind of leave it as it is unless, we need to have some change between now and June.
We can always, if there is an issue where there is an applicant, do it at that time too.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to do it now.
Okay.
I mean, we could throw it out there that we're looking to fill a permanent seat.
Yeah.
And if we get somebody that stands up to the plate and wants to do it, then we could at that point.
If Joe became an alternate, Dave would become a regular?
Joe would have to be, the select board would have to take both actions.
I think that would almost be ideal. Appoint him as an alternate. Give him the chance to come back
I
and
mean,
participate.
There's no, if he only has, this is the remainder of his term, there's no upside to switching it.
Yeah, and I guess if
Because
he's
the
not
alternate
here-
is a one-year term anyway.
Right.
So it would end the same time.
Right.
So there's no way to get any communication to him, to relay this to him, to get another positive answer? There is no address to get him, no cell phone number, no nothing? I see him on Facebook all the time, so there must be a way to communicate with him.
I think he must be still receiving his email, but
Well,
he hasn't responded to me though.
I'll email him. I mean,
Send
I
him a
think it's kind of
Facebook
ridiculous,
message.
I think it's kind of ridiculous that we're hanging on this. I mean, we really do need another member on this board, so, you know, I mean, it's an important board.
We can get another member without doing this, though. We could get 2 more without doing this, right?
Mhm.
You know, we have 2 vacant slots.
I'm good with either way. I was just pointing out that whether we remove him or not, the term ends in June anyway. And an alternate would end in June too, so.
Yeah, I mean, he's done a lot of volunteering with the town. He's come to a lot of meetings, and I don't want to put him off. And I mean, obviously, he can't come here when he's in California. It'd be nice if he sent us a little note. But, I don't know. I think whatever you guys want to do. This is,
Well, I'm not in favor of doing this because of Joe, but I think it's not a bad policy to have for any board.
Mhm.
If you don't have people that are consistently coming and interested, that we should try to fill that spot.
That's true. Although
I,
we changed the bylaws without him being here, he doesn't necessarily know that that's our new policy.
well, but you can say, we can say a member may be removed if that member has missed 3 consecutive meetings,
Mhm.
which means that we don't have to remove somebody. I mean, I would be in favor of putting may in there.
Because like you said,
And
if
then-
something comes up and you get sick and you're gonna be out for 3-4 meetings or whatever, you know, if we word it wrong, then we have to automatically remove them, even if
Right.
they're
Yes,
planning, if
yes,
their intention is to come
exactly.
back, we would be stuck.
Yes, and we can't afford, we can't
No,
afford
that
to
would
leave.
be-
but one of the reasons to, and I'm not saying, I'm just thinking out loud right now, but somebody might be more interested in being a full member of the board rather than an alternate. I don't know.
Absolutely, but either way,
Yeah.
that term ends in June.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you're right.
Well, I have a suggestion that sort of splits the baby. Why don't we move to authorize me to send Joe correspondence? I'll do it on Facebook and via email. And say, Joe, the board just changed its bylaws, and we want to know what your intention is. And if you don't respond, we might consider removing you. And then we don't have to do anything, but that'll give him an idea of what's going on, and he may not have realized that this is an issue, but that would put him on notice. And if he responds and says, I want to do it, well, then we know. And if he says, I don't want to do it, I'm staying in California, well, then we know.
He does still have a house here.
Yeah. I'm just nervous about speculating. I don't know much about Joe's personal life. And what did he do? Has he done 10 of the last 11 years on this board?
I think that's correct, and the other one he was on the planning.
Yeah, he only spent 1 year off the board because he was prohibited by our term limits.
That's correct.
So
Yeah,
I think we ought to see what he says.
I'm good with that.
Does that sound all right?
Sure.
yeah, and I would say that if we change the rules, we put may
Yeah, I
and
agree.
consecutive.
Yep.
Okay.
But we should do that regardless of what Joe did.
Yes,
I think.
absolutely, I agree.
So let's first move to authorize me to send some correspondence to Joe asking what he wants to do going forward and making him aware of the new bylaw.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now, on that new bylaw, I gotta review the minutes here. Our amended minutes. See, I think that the amendment was only that we could, not that we must. Is that right? Yeah, it's,
It says the board can vote,
Yeah.
so,
maybe we could change that to may. May is more of a clear what you want to do. So you want to move to make an amendment to our amendment, changing the word can to may, so that it's very clear that we're not trying to push people out if they have some health
Is that a
problem.
friendly amendment or?
God forbid. I don't think we can do a friendly amendment now because we already voted on
Oh, okay.
the old one. But we can do a quick motion to amend. Just to change can to may.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Brian, do we have any other administrative matters? No. Do we have any prospects for people to join the board? Does anybody on the board know anybody who they think might be interested in serving?
I tried to recruit somebody, but they said they couldn't guarantee they could come to meetings.
I think we
They
should,
have kids.
I think we should informally, yeah, I have kids too.
I know.
I think we
I
should.
said, that's what I said. I said, board members have kids.
Yeah, once a month. I think we should all informally commit to ask one person before the next meeting. And I will survey you to ask you if you did in fact, on the record, ask one person.
Okay.
If you don't,
Are you gonna swear
hand
first?
remove.
Yeah.
No, but your honor is on the line here, so it's up to you. And for those at home, the gallon of Walpole Creamery ice cream offer still applies on me. And you can, if someone joins the sport, I will buy them a gallon of ice cream.
Wait a minute, but what of those that are already here?
Did Todd ever get his
I mean,
ice cream?
seriously.
Let's talk about that on Friday.
Oh,
You gotta
wait a
stay-
minute. Okay, I'm resigning, and then I'll re-sign again.
Right, that's probably, see, this is probably all a plant that Joe developed to get himself some ice cream. Okay, anything further? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good night, folks.